Hello, my name is Mackie, and I'm recording this on the first day of 2026, January 1st of this year, at a lovely time of 3:30 p.m. And yes, I am dressing up as a jacket because the time is absolutely abysmal, to be honest. Weather and rain and all that kind of stuff. So, thank you so much for making 2025 a special year for me. And my goal this year is we're probably going to get to 50 subscribers by the end of maybe this year. But I want to hit 100. I want to hit 100 subscribers. I wanted to see if we as a community can hit that goal. So if you like what you see from my channel, please like, comment, and subscribe to all of this so we can make more League of Legends content like this and my shorts more sustainable, and more growing for you guys. Enough babbling, Akeem. So, why we're here? Well, let's as the year. Well, let me just rephrase. 2026 is a new year for League of Legends in the esports space, with the Worlds being taking place around my area, particularly New York, for the finals in Texas. So, with all of that being said, I think it's time for me to look at a tier list, a proper tier list of all five regions. That is right, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to do a week of tier lists involving all five regions. I wanted to do CB Law, but in order to contain the whole week, I decided to not exclude CB Law. This is not a disrespect to the CB Law community and my friends. I just realized I want to cover the five more prestigious leagues. We're going to cover LEC. Tomorrow we're going to cover LCS. Yes, the LCS is back. The LPL will be coming up the other day on Wednesday, and then Thursday will be the LCK. So today will be the LEC, and then we'll go on for the rest of the week. Now, I decided to do this tier list a little bit different, a little slightly different. As you all notice, we are not going to do the simple S tier, A tier, D tier. It's boring. I decided to put in a little more twist into this little tier list. And this thing will be applied to all the tier lists that we do this week. So let's just go through all of this. So we got the the crown. I was going to say LEC crown, but I decided let's just put a crown there. You know, the best team that can win the whole thing. And then you got good, but not good enough to win title, which is like the team that is pretty decent enough to challenge, but just not good enough to reach like the upper tiers. We got the mid, the classic MJF meme of the mid teams, the teams that are not high but not low as well. We got the least crap, which is a team that does not suck as much. And then we get the Moneyball quote from, the Moneyball quote of the 50 feet of crap. Yeah, the 50 feet of crap, which is basically saying the worst team that will never win LEC, and that's pretty much final. So, with that being said, I think I need to look at the lineups of the teams. I need to get the lineups and then get ready for my very first long form video of 2026. So, as you can see, Sheep Esports, which, by the way, they absolutely upped their website game this year. And actually, they kind of updated their website from last year, but let's just call it this year. They really upped their website game. It's so clean, so beautiful, and so looking to watch. And we're going to use this as a guide to our tier list. And then I'm going to put in some narratives and all kinds of stuff. It's just basically like how the team will look throughout the entire year, the narratives going into it, and all the kind of stuff. Now you're thinking to yourself, Akeem, there's only 10 teams you did. Why there's only 12? Because I'm not decided to put Carmen Corp Blue nor Lost on the Toners in there because these are just teams that will be participating in winter, and that's just it. They're not going to be in the rankings list, despite how popular these two teams are. I just don't want to put it on that list, and I don't want to make it like a 40 or 50 million video, of course. So, unfortunately, Lost by Daytonas and Common Core Blue will be disqualified for this entire tier list. So, I decided to kick off the very first team and just immediately put the shifters in there. Like, just look at this lineup and tell me that this team is going to win LEC. Like, the name sucks. The way they're trying to project their content using the Epstein Files documentary sucks. Like Trimby, okay, he's the only decent player on that team. But Paddock, yeah, like Paddock for ice. Like I don't like this team does not scream like a really good contender to me. In fact, if you look at the likes on so many teams, they got like some of them like 700 or 800 likes or 2,000. This has 70 likes. This team was being renamed from month. Last month. And they got like no love for this. And shifters? Shifters. I mean, they could have just called it the other S word. And that would be like the most decent one. So I'm sorry, man. The shifters are in the shitties of the crap. That will start there. All right. Next up. Let me just see if I get it right. I think I have 8 teams. Yeah, I think I have 8 teams. But let's just go along with it. Let's get a kickoff with G2, and I will put G2 as the top team of the LEC. Now, I have good news and bad news. I'm going to go with the good news. The G2 team, no changes being made. Kept their whole team, kept the coaching, kept the whole thing. So many expectations of G2 going to be this year is not going to change as much. The bad news is, and I believe the bad news for G2 is that their own competition is themselves. Like, if you look at the LEC right now, like, if you go back to like 2019, 2018, or 2017, G2's only competition was Fnatic for titles, for national recognition, and all kind of stuff. In the last couple of years, the last 5 years, you can say that G2 are like leaps and bounds ahead of every single LEC competitor. And it took of this year, of course, to see 3 different teams winning different splits with Carmen Corp and Koi, with the nationalism and all kind of stuff, to just really challenge G2. And that's great for competition purposes. But the question is that can G2, do better than last year? Like Skumon had a great summer finals, of course, but we need to see more of him. We need to see more of Lebrov. We know Han Summer is like being steady and capable. But the only players that I feel like need to step up are both Caps and Broken Blade. This has not been a great Caps year to any extent. I don't even remember Caps popping off in any kind of game. Like, I just don't see it. So I think the expectation for Caps need to be more higher than ever before. Broken Blade needs to be better as well, especially international terms when his international performance has not been great. So while G2 kept the lineup, and that's good and all for stability and all kind of stuff, and consider the competition in the LEC is not as great, I just don't feel like, unless they can do well internationally, then G2 are going to be like really good enough to challenge the Koreans and the LPL. But for now, I feel like G2 are the only decent team, but we'll find out in the next couple of teams or days that G2 are good enough to win the LEC. I have them as a king. The other team I have my king. Let me just see if I can do this right. Let me just 1 minute, and then I'll sort this whole thing out. Okay, I'm back. I kind of forgot to add the other 2 teams there. So there they are. I'm putting Carmen Corp in the same tier as G2. Here is the reason why. This is why. This is literally why. Busio coming in for Targamas. And I will say this off the bat. You are going to have probably the most stacked team in all of LEC to challenge G2. Like, you still have Kana, who performed great last year. You still have Yike, who was fine, but never good enough. Vladdy, who was pretty much like the most hated person in all of Carmen Corp for what he said and for his performances, of course, with the team. And you know about these Carmen Corp fans. If they don't perform well, that's just it. But then again, there was more eternal issues in Carmen Corp this year that kind of felt like it's not Vladdy's fault, of course, but it just felt like, yeah, it is what it is. So he's gone. Caillou's come in. Callista's still there. And then you partner him up with one of the best supports in all the West. in Busio. And then you got Reaper to coach the whole team. And I'm looking at this and I said, oh my God, Carmen Corp is going to make G2 look sweaty. They're going to make G2 look sweaty. And I believe that the performances of Kana and Kalist are going to make this team more dynamic than it is supposed to be. We all know Busio is a great support. We all know that. We saw his performances for FlyQuest and we saw it internationally. We know that this guy can pop off, of course. My real little concern is Caillou, who is going to be placed in to replace a Frenchman, which does not sit well with the Common Core people. And I think, stereotypical, of course, he's going to have to shut his mouth, play a game, all this kind of stuff. Typical Korean stereotypes, of course, and just let the game flow to him. I mean, we saw with like Poby coming into Fnatic last year, he doesn't have to stay much or do anything like much. He just not be like the other guy. Just don't be like Vladdy. That's the only thing you have to do for Caillou. Is to not be Vladdy, play decent, and they'll be fine. And let Kalist and Kana and Yike and Busio's great play will carry him through. That's gonna be what Carmen Core will be. But if I believe there's a team that can challenge G2 this year, it has to be Common Corp. It has to be them. Koi, I believe I want to put Koi as my best team. Best team. I really love to see Koi be my best team. I just don't know if that will suffice. I will put Koi as the good enough, but not winning the title this year. You still have the same lineup. Basically the same lineup. El Yoya getting re-signed for another year, of course. As I mentioned in my shorts, of course. You got Merwin, you got Jojo Pin, Jojo Pin was solid, of course, last year. Super at Alvaro. Alvaro was incredibly good. Incredibly good last year. So for Moisés Koi, they got basically the same lineup. And of course, they've won LEC spring, and then of course they made it to finals, and they made it to Worlds in the most traditional Movistar and Nine Lions fashion. They kind of bombed out, just like they did in all international performances. So the question is, in terms of LEC, where do I put this Koi team? I think they're good. I think they're good. But are they good enough to challenge the establishment of G2 and Carmen Corp at the top? We don't know. We don't know. But I believe they can try. I think with Aloya's leadership and with the whole team being stick together with the veteran presence of this team, I think Koi can challenge them. But do I believe they can win? That's going to be a hard question. Navi is in the they're in the 50-foot of crap. They're in the 50-foot of crap. And the lineup does not speak great. Like Han Sam is, by the way, his name is changed. Do not confuse Han Sam D with Han Sama. So his name kind of changed. Poby is going to be filling in for Larson. Rylich is coming in. Montana will come in, and then The Rock will replace Freddy 122. So the history of the Rogue Koi thing is already dead to its core. It is a brand new team with a brand new name. It's now officially Navi team. It's officially Navi team. And I believe this is going to be a rough first year for them. I do not expect this team to do much, but I want to see what this team doing. I want to see what Poby can do when he's not under a big team like Fnatic or something, where the pressure and expectations are not as high like he did with Fnatic, of course. I want to see this happening. So I think Navi are in the, let's just call it least crap. They're least crap. They're not crap, but they're least crap, in my opinion. And that leaves us with Fnatic. I think Fnatic is in the mid team. They're in the mid. You look at the lineup, Imperius, Oscar decided, by the way, he left, but Imperius will come in to fill in. Razorok, Vladdy over Poby, Upset, and Lopsa, and the lineup. And you look at this lineup just saying, I don't feel Fnatic are doing anything. I think they're not good enough to win, but they're not bad enough to be like the shifters and the Navis of the world. So I said they're mid to me. And consider the fact they now haven't won LEC in like 8 years now, it's a pretty concerning notion on many fans. And after all the expectations and hype and all the players they have and all the raised expectations, this is literally the punishment of like these high expectations and horrible GMing and all kinds of stuff. And that leads us to a solid lineup. I think you could say that Vladdy is fine, but he was not good enough with this Common Corp team. Again, internal problems kind of caused it. Upstead is going to be the main man. Him and Razak are going to be the main two men to trying to carry this team. I think Upstead, we know how good he is. We know how brilliant he is when he's getting carried. And we know how Razak is when he's like, being assassin junglers and all kinds of stuff. But again, I'm doing this because I'm looking at team expectations and we don't see the meta or how the game will look. But that'll be coming in a couple of days. But for now, Fnatic are in the mid tier. And that leaves us with some pretty not so okay-ish teams. I don't know about you, but I don't feel good about SK. I think SK are going to be in the 50-foot of crap. They just moved to a new place in Cologne. And their lineup just doesn't. Well, Wonder and Mickey X are joining, so that's that. But you're asking Wonder to be the top dominant carry? He's a weak side, of course. And you got to rely on Skeens, Leader, and Jopa to be in a team. I don't feel good about this. I just don't feel good about this. Team Heretics, I think they're okay. They were okay team. It's because of they never, be in clutch or never show up to do anything great. Or they never show up when it matters. So Heretics shake up their lineup. Tracin, Shio, Seren, Ice, Sten, and Hinon. Ice coming into Flacken. Huge upgrade. Well, not huge, but more like a small bit of upgrade. Seren is going to come in. Shio, we all know how capable it is. So I think, Heretics are the least crappy team. I did the least crap. I did the absolute least crap. Vitality. Nako, Linkus, Humanoid, Karzi, and Fleshy. Hey, look at that. Humanoid and Karzi are reunited back again from the Mad Lions days. Amazing. What do I expect from this team? Not much. They still have... Actually, Mac is gone. It's now Pad. The Mac Pad is gone. It's just Pad right now, which is suckish, but it is what it is. I'm not expecting much from Fnatic this year. Vitality this year. I'm not expecting much from Vitality this year. So do I believe they are, crap? I don't think they're crap. I think they're least crap to me. I think I put them in the least crap category. And then that leaves us with poor old Giant X. Poor Giant X. Lot, Isma, Jackies, Noah, Jun, Gilhoto is still the manager. I think this is a fine team, but I just don't have that feeling. I have to put them in mid. I'm going to put them in mid. I don't think that they're good enough to challenge the Kois of the world or pretty much challenge the G2s of the world. But I can see them beat a Fnatic or I can see them beat a Koi when they're on their bad day. That's going to be the thing. It's that can you at least catch one of these top teams on a bad day? I think this team can do that. And I believe, that kind of jazz. So this is the tier list, of course. Shifters and SK Gaming are in the 50-foot of crap. The least crappy teams are the Navi, Heretics, and Vitality. Mid are your Fanatics and Giant X. Koi are good enough, but not gonna win the title. And you got the Kings of G2 and Common Corp. That is the tier list for today. Tomorrow we'll be covering the LCS tier list. A little shorter, of course, than the usual one. So anyways, thank you all for watching. Happy New Year to all. Let's get this 2026 LEC season started off.